Hello everyone. Yes, it is the 29th, and yes, happy 29th anniversary to Sonic SatAM. Yes, today, the 18th of September 2022, marks the 29th anniversary of one of the more iconic Saturday morning video game cartoons in recent memory, one that is kept and maintained a cult following even to this day, and one that basically is on the verge, thanks to those at Team Season that is, they are on the verge of trying to revive for a new generation, basically revive the lost Season 3, as the late Ben Hurst, who was one of the writers on the series, was intended, I should say, to make. And because it is the 29th anniversary, that does mean that next year on September 18th, 2023 will mark 30 years. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that Team Season is aiming for the 30th anniversary to release the third season, at least one or a few of the episodes they are working on. They are aiming for the 30th anniversary next year. But speaking of 30th anniversaries, ladies and gentlemen, this also marks 30 years. This time era, this time frame as we speak, the fall, if you will, or the upcoming fall this week, start of the fall seasons this week. This marks 30 years since the Archie Sonic began. This time, 30 years ago, issue zero, the miniseries, was first released. The one that basically got the ball rolling. As a matter of fact, let me see if I have it. Hold on for a second. Let me see if I have it stowed away here somewhere. I don't know if I do. I mean, I do, but I gotta figure out where I put it. Hold on. I know I have it somewhere. It's in here somewhere. I just can't figure out where I put it, but I do have the first issue of the very first issue period of when it was released as issue 0. I'm trying to find it. I have it mixed in here. I have it mixed in with a lot of comics. I basically have the entire run, if you will, just about the entire run of the comic series itself. And that is saying something in the long run, that I have just about every issue of the comic, the main comic that is. And I have some issues of Universe and X and all of them. I have it. It's in here somewhere. I think I've shown it before. Just trying to see where I put it at. Trying to see where I may have put it. But it's here. I know it is. I know I have it. But I can't find it right now. But I know I have that issue. And I've shown it before. It's part of my collection videos. But I do have that issue. I do have issue 0 in my collection. And that's a fact. I mean, who probably doesn't have it? But yeah, this time frame marks 30 years since the Archie Sonic comic began, with issue 0 to issue 3. And then a few months later, we got the regular series debut in the spring of 1993. But, that's that anniversary, if you will. That's that anniversary, if you want to get technical. The anniversary people are talking about today, is the 29th anniversary of Sonic SatAM. And a lot of people are celebrating it in their own unique way. Team Season did a live stream earlier today, just doodling, showing what they've done. Actually showing some work clips, WIPs, of scenes from the upcoming episode that they're working on. And like I said, I think they're trying to aim for a release in the actual 30th anniversary year of 2023. I think that is their target, if not sooner. But that's pretty much more reliable and more realistic in my opinion. Another person that basically is doing their own take on celebrating the 29th anniversary is SatAM Historian, aka Jacob Berkeley, who for the past year or so, couple of years, has been working on a book called The Complete History of Sonic the Hedgehog, basically SatAM, and he has done extensive research on everything. And he will be crediting those that helped him out, those that he's interviewed, those that helped, contribute to the book, including yours truly, because I contributed copies. I basically scanned and sent him copies of stuff that I have when it comes to SatAM. In fact, I'll pop those out right now. Well, I can, if I can, get to them. I'll try to pop them out right now if I can. Let me see where it's at. Here it is. It's kind of buried right now, but I'll pull them out. Hold on. There it is. A whole envelope's worth of stuff, not just SatAM, but other stuff I've shown before. But yeah, he's celebrating in his own way by sharing 3 interviews that he had conducted for the Complete History of Sonic the Hedgehog SatAM book, and I plan to try to read some of these interviews as best as I can, for you today on this video. But yeah, he's celebrating in his own way and stuff, and of course I'm here as a fan, celebrating my own way as well, doing this video and talking about it. And like I've mentioned many times, and when I've talked about SatAM and my history with it, I even did a complete, I did a Sonic SatAM retrospective, which James Sullivan, aka Jaime 2, actually contributed to, so big shout out to James on that. But basically I talked about my history with the cartoon and how me and my family were living in the Midwest when it came out. Yeah, we were actually living in Kansas at the time, in Oskaloosa, Kansas, and I remember being upstairs in my room, because me and my sisters, as usual, would have our own rooms, and we had 2 upstairs. I had my room, which was on this side, and my sisters had the room which was on this side, and I had a TV, they had a TV, but we didn't have cable. We had basically over-the-air television, which at the time for Saturday morning cartoons was good enough. And I remember watching, and they were watching it at the same time downstairs, but I remember watching the Saturday morning preview special on Friday on TGIF, and they showed Sonic SatAM. One of the things they would do, and I mentioned this before, one of the things they would do, which shows that they were getting behind, they were hyping up, is they would show basically about 5, maybe 10 minutes, but mostly 5 minutes of an episode. And the episode they showed was Supersonic, which actually ended up being the very first episode ever shown on Sonic SatAM, despite the fact that the pilot, Heads or Tails, was aired last in season 1, when that season came to an end. But yeah, Supersonic was the first one that I ever saw, and I really enjoyed it. And again, it made me wonder if that season was going to be Sonic having to go back and forth to Robotropolis to try to rescue Bunny and Sally, being under the control of Robotnik. But thankfully, it was only for not even half the episode they were under his control and all that. And but it definitely gave you an idea of what to expect, with this series, and potentially how dark and serious it can get. So yeah, I was hooked immediately, and the first season was kind of for me watching it was kind of like an up and down roller coaster. I would watch the episodes as best I could in the morning on Saturdays in my room, but then of course me and my family moved back to California, and we ended up moving back in with my grandparents. And it was a little hard to do since, we had a television in our room that we all shared. We all shared one room, believe it or not. And my computer just went into sleep mode almost made me look like it went and shut down, but thankfully it didn't. But anyway, like I said, we moved back to California, moved back in with my grandparents, and we all shared one room. We all shared one room, believe it or not. And we only had one television, so it was kind of hard for me to watch cartoons, but I would be able to try to sneak in an episode here and there of Sonic and a few others. And then sometimes I think when my grandparents would be out at Comanche, because they still went to Comanche at times on their own, and I think they even took my sister sometimes with them, my second older sister, and my cousins with them. I would, be able to watch Saturday morning cartoons on their television in the kitchen. That's what I'd be able to do. Now, I'm not going to get too much into specific personal details, but there were some times where, because, we had to abide by the rules, things would be a little bit different. There would be times to where it would be like, well, why did they do this? Why did they do that? But, that's just how they were at the time. But most of the time I was able, like I said, when they went to Comanche, I was able to go on in the kitchen and watch one of their, watch the cartoons on the television in there. That's what I was able to do. Or I was able to watch it on the big screen or the big television in the living room, or I was able to watch it in the bedroom me and my family shared. Anyway, when I moved back out with my dad in '94, that's when I was able to kind of get really back in to the cartoon and not just back in, but basically be able to catch up with it, because my dad had cable. He had cable installed, so I was able to watch the episodes. And then I think not even about a week or two after I was there, we bought a VCR from a pawn shop, and so I was able to record a variety of cartoons on that VCR. And I think this was around the time my dad was working. I think he was working, or he was looking for work, or he was sleeping. Or he was doing something, I think. I think he may have been working. I'm not really sure. But I think he was. I think he was working at a place called Southwest Publishing. So, in Topeka, Kansas. So anyway, I remember, getting up on Saturdays, because he would work almost every other Saturday, or every Saturday I think he worked, and I would watch and record a lot of cartoons. I had a variety of cartoons on tapes. Like, I had the Ninja Turtles on a tape with Rescue Rangers. I had them on there with X-Men, stuff like that. Well, not Rescue Rangers, but, well, yeah, I had Rescue Rangers on a tape too, I should say. But what I was trying to say is I had episodes of the Ninja Turtles, Wildcats, X-Men, Sonic, SatAM, all compiled into one variety tape and all that, which unfortunately are lost now. They are destroyed due to reasons. But yeah, I used to have those episodes of all those cartoons mixed together. And then when we got to the second season, that's when I decided to take a page out of my cousin's playbook, one of my cousin's playbook, and dedicate a VHS to one VCR, one recordable VHS to just the show, just to Sonic SatAM, to season 2. And his thing, I missed watching Game Guy because I slept in. I was tired. I slept in on that Saturday, so I missed that. I watched the tail end of it, but I missed the majority of it. But I did watch it later on when it got reran. But basically what I did is afterwards I dedicated, like I said, a majority of the tape to recording all the episodes. So I had recorded from, the following week, Sonic Inversion, No Brainer, both Blast of the Past parts, the first of the two, I guess you could say, non-canon comedic shorts, Antoine shorts as they call them, which was Fed Up with Antoine and Ghostbusted. Then I recorded, Dulcie, and then after that I recorded The Void. And it was after I recorded The Void that the VCR, it still played tapes, but it stopped recording. Like, the recording function just died. I don't know how that happened, but it just died. So I couldn't record it anymore. So I just, I just finished watching the rest of the season as it was and enjoyed it. And just like anybody else, I thought, oh, we're going to get a third season, and we never did. We never did. And it wouldn't be until a couple of years later, I would be, as I've mentioned before in other videos, I'd be part of this summer program for my school, where I would go and live for about a week or two in apartments, kind of get like a dorm-like feel of when you would, graduate out of high school. I lived with other people, and that's when I found out that SatAM was still being shown, but it was being shown on USA, on the USA Network, as part of the Action Extreme Team block. But unfortunately, it had been butchered to hell. Yeah, some episodes, if not a majority of episodes, due to time restraints, have been butchered to hell. And that did not go over well with people. And it wasn't until later on, after I graduated and everything, that I found out that the show was still being seen or being revived and seen in reruns on pop television. That's when I found out it was being reran. And then I found out that Adventures had been purchased license-wise to be broadcast on Toon Disney. And I thought, honestly, okay, if Adventures is going to be there, Sonic SatAM was going to be there. And I think I heard somewhere that it was, but then they took it off. I don't know why, but it was there, but then they took it off. The only thing closest to it was, of course, Christmas Blast, which I was cool with because, hey, it had name references, out of, name acknowledgments and references out of SatAM, and it had Sally. So, that was good enough for me. But still, it was like, why would Toon Disney, if it's true, show SatAM seasons 1 to 2 only once and then no more? I could never get it. I never could get that. But yeah, apparently I think it was on Toon Disney for one time, and then that was it. And it would be, about a couple of years later, basically 2 years later, not 2 years, but 4 years after I moved out into my own place in Lawrence, Kansas, that we finally did get a new release of Sonic SatAM on physical media. We got it on physical media. And what that was of course, and I've shown this before recently in my Sonic my Sonic DVD collection, that was, of course, this one by Trimark Home Video and Liongates Home Entertainment. And this contained the episodes Super Sonic, Sonic and Sally, Warp Sonic. I think it contained Hooked on Sonic. I think it contained Hooked on Sonic. I'm not really sure. I gotta look again. Hold on for a sec. I think it contained Hooked on Sonic. Let me turn on the lights. It's getting a little darker out here. But let's see. It contained Super Sonic, Sonic and Sally. Sonic Racer, and Sonic Boom is what it contained on here. And then the bonus episode after you solved the trivia game, and everything. The bonus episode was Sonic and the Secret Scrolls, which I consider, and everybody else is in agreement, was the official last episode, the season finale, the season 1 finale to the show. But as I've talked about before, and maybe Jacob, if you're watching this, you'll probably mention this in the book as well, this didn't have a long lifespan. It's like as quickly as it got released, it got removed, it got pulled, due to the fact that they, that being Trimark and Liongates, did not have Benio Vista's permission. Benio Vista, of course, being another name for Disney, being basically the name of the distributor, home video distributor for Disney, for non-Disney properties that were licensed to them, like, a lot of the Geek Entertainment properties at that time, because they owned, some of the properties, if not owned Geek Entertainment at that time. They had it licensed out to them, so they had the rights to distribute, whatever they wanted under the Benio Vista home entertainment library, including Sonic. And basically, Trimark and Liongates did not get the permission to do this, even though it was officially okayed by Geek. Geek apparently didn't get the okay from Disney to allow it to happen. And like I said, as quickly as it got released, it got removed. Thankfully, I got myself a copy, as well as I was able to get copies for people that had helped me out at that time, like Jay Foxfire and Rafaela XD, and a few others. I was able to get a copy of this when I did. I was able to get a copy when I did. But it was also during that time. It was also during that time, though, that I went online, and I've mentioned this before. There was a Canadian shop online where I basically was looking at some things to buy. I had a card art and everything. I was working at the time, so I had a bank account out and everything, and I was just looking for stuff to buy and everything. And lo and behold, I went to this Canadian shop because I think I heard online that this might have been one of the best areas to get it. And, because I looked on Amazon, and they cost a little bit more on Amazon and everything. So I went to this Canadian shop, and lo and behold, all 3 volumes were there. And I had seen these 3 volumes previously at a Target in Lawrence, Kansas, I think. And as I've mentioned before, me and my dad were in Lawrence, Kansas, I think in '94, at the Target there. And one aisle was, and it's like on one side you had the toys and everything. I think the toys were like on this side, and on this side was electronics and the movies and all that, kind of like right in the middle. It's like the movies and stuff that was still VHS, of course, at the time. Well, right in the middle, and the basically the like TVs and stuff, VCRs and all that they were selling were right over here, and then toys were like on the other side of the movies that they were selling. And right in the middle of that aisleway, like that middle section where the movies were, they had a display of some of the new stuff that was released. And lo and behold, I saw these there. Now, these aren't the ones that were at that Target, but they were these are basically the same ones that were displayed, but they're not the ones that were displayed that day. And I was just happy to see them. I was happy to see them there. And then what I did later on when we were renting movies from Blockbuster is I rented one of these from Blockbuster. As well as then I went over, and I don't know if it was at Blockbuster or at a mom and pop shop in Oskaloosa, but I remember also renting a VCR and everything to try to copy these to my own VHS. And then that's when that was like the first time I ever found out about copyright protection, because it recorded, but you could barely see anything. It's like you could hear it, but the picture was all like blah. So anyway, fast forward, like I said, I lived on my own, went online, saw that these were being sold for a decent price out of Canada, and decided to get them, and that's what I did. And of course you have the Sonic Racer with Sonic Racer and Sonic Boom. You have Super Sonic with, of course, the episode Super Sonic and Sally. And then, of course, you have Hooked on Sonics with Hooked on Sonics and Warp Sonic to go with it. And these are basically the tapes, as they were when they first got released. So it was pretty cool when I finally got these, because I was just thrilled and everything. And I think they had these at a Go Hastings. They had at least one of them at a Go Hastings one time, and I couldn't get it because I think they had already sold it, or they basically put it in the back to, pretty much mail back to, I think, whoever distributed it to them. But yeah, these are the VHS tapes, and these are still the plastic coverings they came in, except the Supersonic one, of course. Not the Supersonic, but of course the Sonic Racer one didn't have it. But yeah, these were the ones that I bought. And to kind of go back to what I was talking about, you see the name here. It says, I don't know if you can see that very well. It says Deke Toontime Video, right? Deke Toontime Video. And the reason it says Deke Toontime Video is that was a name that Dick had settled on, but I think it was a name they settled on thanks to Disney, who again was distributing this through the, and here it is right here, the Benu Vista Home Entertainment license. So yeah, Benu Vista was the ones that were distributing the Deke Entertainment stuff at the time, which is why going back to this one, the Supersonic DVD, which is why, it got pulled quickly as it was released, due to the fact that they didn't have the okay from Disney to put those out. They didn't get the okay from them to do that. But anyway, it wouldn't be that long afterwards that we would finally get another official release on DVD. Now, in between then, though, I did have help from Rafaela XD. She was selling VCD versions of Sonic SatAM. Yeah, she was selling VCD versions. So what I did is I paid her to send me copies, some VCD copies of the episodes she had. These were the uncut episodes, which I think you could tell they were from. I think some of them were the original ABC broadcast, but some of them were also from Pop Television out of the UK. So she sent me those, and what I did basically, and I showed this again as best as I could. What I did basically is I try to get this organized here. Hold on, guys. What I did basically is I decided, because I had an Apex DVD recorder. This was back at a time in the early to mid 2000s that a lot of companies like Apex, like ILO, like currently like the one I have in the living room, Samsung and Philips, and all of them were creating and distributing DVD recorders, which was the more modern day take on VCRs, video cassette recorders. So they were doing that. They were releasing all these DVD recorders that would allow folks to take a recordable DVD, basically. If I can find one here real quickly to give you an example. But take something like this, and if you're listening to this through audio, I'm showing them one of the recordable DVDs. But basically take something like, something like this, which is a recordable DVD because of the other side where the laser would hit is all purple, and record a lot of their favorite programs on there. They would allow them to record a lot of their favorite programs. But unfortunately, what happened is basically I think a lot of major studios had gotten on these companies for doing this. They'd gotten onto these companies for distributing and creating and distributing these devices, because now not only could people record certain movies and shows onto DVD along with other stuff, but they could potentially, if they're recording it off, let's say, a premium cable service like HBO or Showtime or whatever, Stars or Disney Channel, they could potentially end up selling, various copies of, let's say, a movie, and make a profit off it. That's kind of pirating something that, they don't really have ownership to, even though, they recorded it off television with something they bought with their own money. So, but yeah, basically DVD recorders, they were around for a while. They still technically are, but not as much. But yeah, basically they bit the dust and everything. Like I said, they're still technically around, but not as much. You have to find them mostly in places like a Best Buy or wherever. And you can also find Blu-ray recorders there as well. You can also find Blu-ray recorders. Those are out. And that's how a lot of people are selling a lot of these Blu-ray versions of stuff that normally are not official, but the bootlegs are basically like DVD, VCD versions of an episode on a Blu-ray, and they're just selling it for profit because they have a Blu-ray driver, writer, or a recorder that they're putting it on. But anyway, getting back on topic, I had an Apex DVD recorder back in that time frame. So what I did is I decided to take the VCDs that she had sold me. I basically bought from her, which I still technically have. They're in the garage somewhere in some boxes. I think I got them in various boxes scattered about. But I also basically took them all and I put them onto a DVD recordable disc. That's the one thing about recordable discs. You can also use them as data discs to store a lot more. So you could take, all the episodes in those separate discs and store them into one or two DVDs. for usage later, and that's what I did. That's what I did basically with Sonic SatAM. So if I ever wanted to record, or not record, but create a SatAM fan vid in the future, I have the property to, or not the property, I have the DVD data disk now to do that with. But getting back on topic, though, like I said, I had that recorder, I had that Apex recorder, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go out, I'm going to buy some DVDs, and when I get the time, because I was working at the time, I think I was working at Burger King at that time, because when you look at the dates here, they would say things like 2003 and stuff. But I was working at Burger King at the time, so I had to use like the time before I went to work, the time after work, if I wasn't tired and all that, as well as I would use basically my days off to record, some episodes. Sometimes I do it one day at a time, one episode a day or 2 episodes a day, whatever. And when it was all said and done, I had basically curated my own complete DVD sets of Sonic SatAM. And this was before we got the official release that I'm about to show you in 2007. So I decided, okay, I'm going to do that. And the end result was this. I basically went the route where I figured, okay, if Dick Entertainment through Disney or whoever was to allow them to do multiple volumes, like season 1, season 2 of Sonic SatAM, obviously they would probably add in bonus episodes from other Sonic cartoons. So I decided, okay, what would I do? How would I view it? And what I did was I did the seasons, as they are. I did the seasons as they were. And for bonus episodes, I added in Sonic Underground's To Catch a Crane and the Sonic X sneak peek. This was around when Sonic X was coming out. But I also listed them chronologically as they're supposed to, or as they was originally supposed to be out, or at least as I saw online. Even though I knew, better about, okay, Super Sonic was first, I went chronologically as it was viewed on several sites. And then that's how I did the episodes. Those are how the episodes I put in chronological order, how I recorded them and stuff like that. And I had Heads or Tails on there twice. So I did encore presentation for it as well. And then, of course, that's the disc right there. I think you can see that. That's the disc right there. The Memorex had stuff you can print, DVD. Well, basically, Memorex had these things that they still do technically, where you can print out covers for your disc and for your DVD cases. So I got one that was kind of very foil-like for season 1, and of course you can see this is a picture from the end of season 2. But yeah, that's what I did right there. I kind of got creative and everything with the disc. And then of course I had these as well, because originally I had it in a jewel case. I had it in a jewel case and everything before I had a jewel case. I basically had it in a jewel case before I decided to put it into a DVD case later on. So I had it in a jewel case originally before putting it into a regular DVD case later on and stuff. So I did that, and then of course I couldn't do season 1 without doing season 2. So I did season 2. So here's season 2 right here. This is season 2, and of course I did it in chronological order. And just like before, I added some bonus features. So I added some of the Sonic music videos that I created as a bonus feature, along with the Sonic Underground episode, Wedding Bell Blues, because I figured, like I said, if an official company was to distribute it like this, that's probably what they would do. And then of course, just like before, I had season 2 originally in a jewel case which is why I have these pictures right here to kind of, back it up a little bit. Not back it up, but kind of like, kind of back up the fact that, this is proof I had it I had them in jewel cases originally, but also kind of like a reminder of where they first was stored when I recorded them. And then, of course, I got the cover here based off of the 100th issue of Sonic, Archie Sonic right here, the 100th issue. So that's what I did there. And then, of course, later on, I decided, okay, I'm going to do some bonus stuff. And what I did basically is I went out and I did what I considered the best and very best of Sonic the Hedgehog, which consisted of not just SatAM, but of Sonic X and even Underground to an extent. So that's what I did there, basically. And one of the first things on this one, which was the first volume, is what I call the Doomsday Project movie. And as I've mentioned on numerous occasions, I had done a lot of things, basically. I had done a lot of things, and these are just a mixture. This is a collage cover for the disc that I put together. But I had, on multiple occasions, even up till a couple years ago, tried to basically piece the final 4 episodes of Sonic SatAM Season 2 into a movie. Never could do it correctly until finally, after I got my Samsung recorder, I was able to actually do it correctly and without a problem. And thus is the movie you can find here on my channel. And then, of course, like I said, this was the first volume of what I consider the best of Sonic. And then, of course, I did a second volume as well. Once again, a collage of imagery to show you what's included on there and stuff. So that was pretty cool for me to do, when I did it. And our cooler's going on right now because it's getting humid outside. But that's basically what we did at that time. Not me, but that's basically what I did at that time. That's basically what I did at that time. I had basically created, as I adjust myself there, I had created, these very best of things here, these very best of stuff here that, I felt represented Sonic the best, in his own way. So, like I said, very cool to have in the collection. And then, of course, like I said, Season 1 right here, with the stuff in there, and again the little stuff here to show that originally I had it in a jewel case when I first made it. And then, of course, like I said, the same for Season 2. So I basically had the complete series before, like I said, we got the official release that we got later on. So I was kind of a step ahead. And then, of course, like I said, the aforementioned Sonic SatAM Doomsday Project, which, of course, I have twice, just in case, I have it twice. But yeah, this is just basically a compiled, probably the best version of compiling the movie to get the final 4 episodes as a movie together that I think you're going to get, period. So yeah, that was a proud moment for me to finally get this done in a way that it feels like you're watching the final 4 episodes in movie format. And by the way, you could watch them in 2 different formats. You can watch them in 4K and non-4K as well. And then of course, like I said, a few years later, we ended up getting the official DVD release by Shout Factory. This was at a time when Disney no longer had the license. Shout Factory had gotten the exclusive license to a lot of Deke Entertainment stuff, and Sonic was one of them. So Brian Ward got in contact with a lot of us, including the people over at Fans United for SatAM, got the fans involved, and the end result is, of course, this complete set of Sonic SatAM. the series. So here you have the complete series. You have season 1 here, right here, and then of course you have season 2 right there. So that was really nice. And what was interesting is when this got announced, like I said, Brian Ward got in contact with a lot of us. Even I talked to him. And when I worked at Walmart, I think I have images I could probably show you or link you to. I worked as an unloader in Lawrence, Kansas, at the Lawrence, Kansas Walmart. And I remember we would get these boxes in of everything that was going to be distributed on the floor, and at certain times. So I remember looking into, and we had to look in the boxes, make sure everything was there. And I remember looking into one of the boxes, and we stored it down. And I remember a couple of times during break, I would go over just to confirm it. And I looked in there, and lo and behold, one of the boxes had Sonic SatAM. They had this. So what I did is, of course, at midnight, because the Walmart there I was working at was 24/7. At midnight, I bought this, and then I went back and bought another copy of it, a few more copies, one for my cousin in Hayward, one for my oldest nephew, one for Jay Foxfire, and I think one for Raphael XD, because they had helped me out a lot. I think Jay had done a commission for me, the commissions for me with Sally and Sonic doing the Pretty Woman poster parody, and then Sally soaking in a bubble bath and then submerging under. I think, she did that for me. So as a thank you, I ended up getting her a copy of these, I believe. And then afterwards I decided to get myself an additional copy, and this is that copy. This is basically how it looked when it first was released. So this is basically unopened and everything. It is unopened and everything. So this is how it was originally when you bought it. So I have, like I said, 2 versions of it, at the ready. I have 2 versions at the ready, a viewable copy and one that for collector reasons. And as I've said before, I've been always wanting to try to get one of those frames where you put something like this in there and you display it for collector's sake and all that. But yeah, those were those were great moments for me as a fan. Just having as I try to adjust myself here to put the movie back, or the set back. There we go. But yeah, it was a great moment for me to be like one of the first people to get Sonic SatAM on DVD when it came out. Now, of course, they did release some episodes in variety disc as well, kind of like what myself and other fans would kind of put together. And here we have the Mega Mix, and on the Mega Mix you have from SatAM Ultrasonic and Supersonic. Ultrasonic had never been released on DVD until SatAM, and of course this. So they made up for that in a major way. They made up for that in a major way, which was pretty cool. Pretty cool, because it's one of the more, emotionally sought episodes of Sonic SatAM of season 1 out there. And it also kind of like laid the groundwork for season 2, because it got followed up on technically in season 2 with Sonic Inversion. But anyway, long story short though, I got myself those, and I've had them ever since. But that wasn't the only thing either. As you all know, if you look behind here, right there, because I found out about this online when I lived in Kansas, there was Sonic Live in Sydney, and of course they had Sonic merchandise exclusive to that, which of course included Sally. So of course I ended up eventually, the year I left, basically months before I left, the same year though, in 2007, I won an eBay. I had the money, and it was like God was telling me, get this while you can. Get this while you can have the opportunity, and that's what I did. So it cost me over like $250, shipping and handling as well. But I ended up getting the Sally plush from Sonic Sydney, Australia. Somebody was selling it on eBay, and I bought it for that much. And I got it directly from Australia, and I've had her ever since. And for anybody that's always curious, no, she's not for sale. So we'll put an end to that. But of course, I also have the junior novels as well, like the Robotnik's Revenge, Extreme, and stuff like that. And I think, like Robotnik's Revenge, Extreme, Fortress of Fear, I have those. I've shown those off before. But also what I have, and I was happy to get these. I was happy to get these when I did. If I can pull them out here. I have it all mixed up with some stuff now, so it's kind of hard to do, but I think I have them. I have them separate here. So here we have, this was one of the original drawings, or at least one of the original drawings here, because you can tell by the punch holes, of Sally. This is one of Sally's original designs. And these are the ones that I scanned and sent to Jacob to use in the book. Here we have Sally. This is from the Dulcie episode when she's in her pajamas and everything. She's sitting on the bed, and that's when she gets the note from Uncle Chuck about Robotnik going after the dragons, mostly going after Dulcie. And it says it right there. It's from the Dulcie episode. And then, of course, we have Lupe from Cry of the Wolf, which was really cool. And then, of course, we have from The Odd Couple, which was the very last Antoine focused short, along with Rebecca. We have Bunny Rabbit in her pajamas, So we have her in that, which I like. I was really happy to get those. And then, let's see what else is in here. That is SatAM related. Some of these I got from Frank Hill. So thank you, Frank, for that. Very much appreciate it. I think that's about it. I'm trying to make sure. Yeah, I think that's about it. Some of these I got from Frank Hill. These actually I printed out myself as well, because when we lived in Patterson, I decided to frame these and everything, but I have to use the frames for other things. So I ended up, of course, getting these framed up and all that when I did. So yeah, I have these little things here, and of course this is a smaller version of what you see right there. This is that collage picture from the reboot and everything, or the soft retcon reboot, however you want to look at it. I actually have 2 copies of it too, so because I was trying to figure out like which size was the best size and everything. So, but yeah, I have those, but the rest basically comes from Frank Hill, because Frank always likes to send stuff to me and Sarah Nizrak and stuff. So here's a promotional card from ABC of Sonic the Hedgehog. This is from the ABC photography department, 1993. So that's pretty cool. And I think that's about it. Yeah, it is. And it's even numbered. It has a 62 on the back. But yeah, Frank sent me that, which was really cool of him to do. And then he sent this in one of the more recent packages. It's really nice. It's a screenshot from Fed Up with Antoine. And then he sent me this. I think this was supposed to be like an idea to, for Knuckles to show up. And then of course another screenshot from Adventures. And then this is a poster. This is something I got through the eBay thing as well. And then I think this is something else that he sent me as well. So, but yeah, the majority of the stuff there, right here, I just showed you, is from Frank Hill. The rest I got through eBay. The rest I got through eBay and stuff. But most of it came from Frank Hill. But yeah, to have these though, that is something that's really amazing, because you can tell the numbers and everything. So it's really cool to have these, and of course to have that's off one of the original drawing desks. That is something. And of course I think that's from Heads or Tails. That's supposed to be, you know, a drawing from Heads or Tails, the pilot, if you will. That's supposed to be from the pilot. I try to get it in here as best I can. There we go. Hey, get in there. Get in there. But yeah, that's from the on the pilot and everything. So, you know, to have that in the collection, I think is really cool to have. It's really nice to have and everything. But speaking of Sonic SatAM, and of course this being the 29th anniversary, like I said, there's a lot of people that are celebrating in their own way. And like I mentioned earlier, Jacob Berkeley, SatAM Historian, who's doing the book, The Complete History of Sonic the Hedgehog, actually shared several interviews that he had done for the book. Yeah, he shared several episodes he had done for the book, and I'll read those in just a minute, guys. Give me a little break to stretch my legs here, and also probably change the battery here in a moment. But yeah, he did some interviews for the book, and I'm going to share those with you in just a minute. I'll be right back, guys. Alright, so like I said, Jacob Berkeley, aka the SatAM Historian, decided to help celebrate the 29th anniversary, you know, along with Season doing their own thing with the live stream. He decided to share several interviews that he did for his book. Now this apparently, I think, might be, I'm not really sure, correct me Jacob if I'm wrong, this looks like it's going to be possibly one of the covers potentially for the book. And then of course we have the interviews that he did. Now originally I was going to read the interviews like this, but it looks like it's a little hard for me to do. I mean, you can make it out a little bit of what they say, and I'll probably post it up here for you guys to see too. Hopefully. If not, I'll link it down below so you guys can check it out for yourself. But yeah, I was going to read off the interviews like this, but it looks like they're a little hard to do. So I'm going to just read it off the screen here. But I am going to keep these for collector reasons, you know, so I'll just put these to the side. There we go. And I'm just going to read it here. And that's why I also got a water. This was also why I got up just moments ago to kind of stretch out the legs and, you know, get myself ready for this here. But he has 3 interviews he put up. The first one he shared was with Ryan Myrick. I mean, not Ryan, but with Ron. Not Ryan, but Ron Myrick. And Ron came on board, I think, from what I'm understanding here, in the 3rd season. I mean, third season, but the 2nd season. And this is what the interview went. This is how the interview went. The questions asked by Jacob are highlighted in gold, and Ron's answers are highlighted in white, I should say. So, Ron's answers to the questions and stuff in white, and Jacob's questions to him are in gold. So, this is the first interview he shares, and the first question he asked Ron was, "Who are you, and how did you get involved in the animation industry? What's your histories in regards to your involvement with animated films and TV shows? Any notable ones?" That was his first question to Ron. This was Ron's answer, and I quote, "I am in my 4th decade plus in the field of animation. I was fortunate enough to be hired straight out of college by the studio Filmation. They produced such notable series as Fat Albert, The Archies, He-Man, She-Ra, and many more. I left there to start my own freelance studio, contracting animation from various production companies around town. I got my start in animation as an in-betweener, then I was promoted to assistant animator and later a journeyman animator. In the early 90s, I was hired by Hanna-Barbera to direct the series The Addams Family for the ABC network." So, if you were fans of the 90s Addams Family series, he was part of that. The second question he asked, Jacob asked him was, how did you get involved with the Saturday morning Sonic the Hedgehog series? This was Ron's answer to that. Ron's answer was, after directing and producing The Addams Family for 2 seasons, the president of children's programming at ABC, a lady named Jenny Therese, asked me to move from H&B to the studio DIC, which was producing the Sonic series. Another question by Jacob. Okay, let me reread that. This is the next question by Jacob. Had you known about Sonic before getting involved with, or had you known about Sonic before getting involved with the series? Ron's answer was, yes, I knew of Sonic. It was one of the more popular video games in the country at the time, and it had high ratings on Saturday morning television. While I was initially disappointed to leave the Addams Family, I recognized it as an opportunity to build a relationship with the network. During those days, the big 3 networks held all the power in children's programming. Having a direct line of communication with the head of the network was a good thing. Little did I know how the industry was soon to change when the studios were bought up by the networks to produce their own content. So the interview so far I think is really good. Next up, he asked, this is Jacob asking Ron, are you aware of why Dick Seabass, the director of the first season, didn't return to direct the second? And Dick Seabass was the director of season 1 of SatAM. This was Ron's answer. Dick and the story editor Len Jensen did not work well together, as Dick chose to leave the series after season 1. Okay, so apparently, they didn't. Dick and Jen, didn't work very well. I guess, like trying to mix oil with water. He continued. The next question Jacob asked was, you're credited as both the producer and the director for every episode of the second season of Sonic SatAM. Can you give us some insight in your part of an episode's production? What was the general process of creating and directing an episode like? This is Ron Myrick's answer. As the producer-director, I was involved in every aspect of the production, from the scripts, designs, and back... let me reread that. This is Ron's answer to that question, and I quote, As the producer-director, I was involved in every aspect of the production, from the scripts, designs of backgrounds, characters, voices, animation, and final delivery in post. I was responsible for it all. Alright, continuing on. The next question he asked him was, as the director, did you have much say in terms of how the script should be altered or changed? And this was Ron's answer. Unlike my predecessor Dick, I had a great working relationship with Len Jensen. I found him to be very open to suggestions, and he welcomed my notes and ideas in regards to the story. Continuing on. Next question. What were your interactions like with the art department of the SatAM TV series? Do you remember any people or moments specifically that you'd like to mention? Ron's answer. I had a good working relationship with all of the departments. Animation is a team effort, and it's important for a director to have the support of everyone around him or her. Alright, continuing on. Continuing on, the next question he asked was, you were additionally an animation timer for the series. Can you go a little into details in regards to what that job entailed? Okay, the question he asked him again was, you were additionally an animation timer for the series. Can you go a little into detail in regards to what that job entailed? Ron's answer to that, because of the storyboard programs of today, timing is an art/job that is quickly fading away. I would prefer not to discuss the process since it's rather involved. So in other words, instead of actually discussing it, he'd rather not discuss it because there's probably too much that goes into it. The next question he asked him is, did you ever talk much with the writers and the story editors of the show, Len Jensen, Ben Hurst, Pat Ali? If so, do you remember much about them or any discussions you had with them? Excuse me. His answer to that was, I have fond memories of working with Len and the other story editors. I gave them 2 suggestions that shaped the story arc of Season 2. The first was for Sonic's uncle to become a mole inside Robotnik City HQ. He had been roboticized in Season 1. Well, actually, it was already roboticized in Season 1. They were able to release, and we're going to go into the next page here. We're going to the next page here. And we're going to have to, there we go. They were able to release him from the spell or influence of Robotnik's machine. He told Sonic that he felt that he could do more good with the overthrow of Robotnik if he stayed in the city. He further told Sonic that he had heard about something called Doomsday. He didn't know what it was, but if he remained in the city, he could become a mole and funnel information back to Sonic. We then made that a thorough line in each episode with a little more intel being given. We then made that a thorough line in each episode with a little more intel being given to Sonic and the audience leading up to the final reveal of what Doomsday was. Now, I will say this, he probably, because he's worked in the industry for a long time, he does have memories, very photographic memories, but, sometimes they get mixed up with stuff and all that. And I'm pretty sure he probably doesn't recall correctly exactly how they got to that point until later on and stuff. But he's kind of on the nose, but not really, with all due respect. Continuing on, the next question he asked was, did you have much involvement with the voice acting side of the show, such as with any of the voice actors or the voice director, Jeannie McSwan? And this was Ron's answer. Jeannie is now retired from animation. She was a good friend and a delight to work with. The recording sessions were the highlight of the production. We had an amazing cast of voice talent and guest stars for each episode. When it works well, the voice recordings are like playing more than working. Okay, and that was his answer to that. Next question was asked by Jacob to him. Did you talk much with the people in charge at Geek, such as Andy Hayward or Robbie London, or anyone from Sega or ABC? If so, did they specifically request any changes when it came to the show? His answer, yes. Ron's answer is, yes. I worked with them, but not too often. Yes, I worked with them all, but not too often. They were more involved with the network and clients of the many shows that they were doing. Next question. Do you have any interesting details of stories productions-wise for Pacific episodes you worked on for the second season? In his answer to that question, there are many stories I could tell. Unfortunately, they would be boring unless you were there in the moment. Therefore, I'll spare you the details. Continuing on, another question. Are there any aspects of the second season which had to be cut due to time or network interference? His answer, nothing of significance. Next question. Additionally, the cliffhanger of the show showing off the red eye seemed to be a later addition as it was not in the script, and no storyboard from it have surfaced. Would you say this is true? Ron's answer to that? Yes, that ending was an add-on. At the time, we didn't know if there was going to be a third season, so I wanted to tease the audience with the possibility that Sonic's next and greatest opponent, Knuckles, was about to arrive. I'm very impressed at the depth of your research. So that's a different answer from what we got from Ben Hurst. And in fact, he even brings that up in a question. That's a different answer from what Ben Hurst has given us. But again, Jacob brings this up. He follows that up in this question. Here. He says, interesting. Ben Hurst has stated that his own plan was for the identity of the Red Eyes to be actually... Okay, let me reread that. This is the follow-up to that. He says, interesting. Ben Hurst has stated that his own plan was for the identity of the Red Eyes to actually be Nagas. Were you aware of Ben Hurst's plans? And Ron's answer to that, Ron's answer to that is, I won't get into the... let me reread that. Okay. Ron's answer to that is this. I won't get into a back and forth of differing opinions with Ben. I highly respect his point of view and enjoyed working with him and the other writers, Pat and Lynn. I was not aware of his or their plans for the character of Nagus. It is possible that the writing team was working on the story arc for Season 3. Since it never happened, I was not privy to those meetings. As far as the final outcome of a show, the writers were rarely involved in the process of post-production. The writing team was long gone by the time we were in the post. I took my lead from the Sega executive that we worked with. He encouraged me to find a way to tease the audience with the coming of Knuckles. That is why there is no script for that ending. If you look closely at the picture, you will notice that the eyes are the same as Sonic's. That's because I used a close-up of Sonic and took all of the color out of it and added a red glow to his eyes. It doesn't really matter to me what Season 3 might have been, since it never happened. My best takeaway is that directing Sonic the Hedgehog was one of the best experiences in my long career. When and if there is a fan-based series created, I would love to see it. So, what I'm getting from that, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm getting from that is apparently Ben Hurst, God rest his soul, Ben's idea for for the revelation of the eyes differed from what was intended off the bat, because apparently the Sega executive that was there said, go with Knuckles. Go with Knuckles, apparently. So, yeah, it seems that what a lot of us pretty much guessed, pretty much figured and guessed just by the way the eyes were designed, I guess what a lot of us pretty much guessed and, we guessed, could be, behind those eyes was right on the money. It was either going to be Metal Sonic or Knuckles, and a lot of us that went with Knuckles, I guess we were right. It was going to be Knuckles. Cool. But again, it differs from what Ben wanted to do. And Team Season is going off of what Ben's doing, but I can only imagine Team Season's reading this and going like, so it was supposed to be Knuckles? Ugh. So again, I say that with all due respect, but anyway, continuing on, the next question that he asked him is, the series ended up being canceled, meaning a third season was never made. Would you have returned to direct the third season had it been made? Ron's answer to that: yes, I would have returned for a third season. I had a lot of fun working on Sonic and with ABC. When you produce a series, it's a little like birthing a child. You don't want to walk away from it when it's just getting good. A third season of Sonic would have been incredible. The other question: would you say your experience working on Sonic was a positive one overall? Ron's answer: yes, it was a very positive experience. Looking back at those two series, I can honestly say they are among the high points in my long career. I also produced an afternoon special for ABC titled Jimbarere, or Jimbarana, or something. It was based on an African folktale. It was also a delight to direct, and the last project I did for them. Continuing on, next question he asks: what have you done since SatAM was canceled? Any other notable shows or films you've worked on since? What are you working on today? Ron's answer: after I left Sonic, I did 2 more series for Dick. The first was a 4-part miniseries based on the magicians Siegfried and Roy. The title was Samonte. There may be more to the title that I can remember. The second was Street Sharks, which was a toy line for Mattel. After that, I moved on to the studio that was producing Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That studio was Saban Entertainment. For them, I directed the second season of The Incredible Hulk and The Avengers. There were just a small few of the many shows. Those are just a small few of the many shows I went on to direct. Currently, I'm directing a movie for Mattel, which will be part of the Barbie franchise. It's titled Mermaid Rock. Last year, I directed a documentary series that airs on Netflix titled How to Become a Tyrant. It is a combination of live action and animation. It is the most unique project I've ever done. Last question. What are your thoughts on the SatAM fan base as it exists today? There's a huge fandom, and there's even a group putting together a fan-made third season of the show. And Ron's answer? This is all good news to me. I am in awe that there is a third season of Sonic being conceived of by the fans. It's so cool, and I would love to see the end result. I hope I have answered the questions to your satisfaction. I appreciate that you and all the fans have enjoyed my work. Sincerely, Ron. Now, Jacob put down here a fun fact from Ron. He says, a fun fact from Ron. A bit of trivial information you might enjoy. This is from Ron, actually. This is a fun fact from Ron. He says, a bit of trivia information you might enjoy. I worked with the composer Randall Chrisman on the score for Sonic. As part of his audition, I had him do a mash-up of the classical symphony Shahzad and a Stevie Wonder song, Keep On Running. It is a crazy request, but he did a great job in doing it. He was fun to work with. So that's a fun fact from Ron Merrick in the interview that he did with him. Now, the next one he did was with Art Mahaney, who had worked on the comic as well, and I think you kind of tell that he worked on the comic because of later issues had design. And if you excuse me for a second, as I check the time, we're going to get into that in a moment, but I'm going to go get me another drink of water here, or actually probably get me a Zola or something. Go on. Zoa. Can't go wrong without it. It actually lives up to its state too. It's good. It's good. Now, this is the other interview he did for the book. This is for Art Mahaney. Art Mahaney. This is the interview he did with him for the book. First question he asked him was, "Who are you and how did you get into art and storyboard?" Okay, the first question he asked him was, "Who are you and how did you get into art and storyboarding?" Art's answer: "I attended Cal Arts for animation briefly when they were first open. I couldn't afford to stay there and finish a degree, so I came back to Wisconsin and got a BS in art from UW, University of Wisconsin. Always had planned to go back to Cali, but instead ended up starting an animation studio in Wisconsin. I did TV commercials and long-form educational animation for my first 20 years. Then, in the very early 90s, was when cable TV was exploding, and lots of new content was needed, including animation. I was contacted by DIC, to do a test, which led to me storyboarding on Super Dave." Next question. How did you end up getting a job doing storyboards for DIC and the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons? Art's answer: after doing 2 Super Dave boards and delivering on time and reasonable quality, 2 things that are sometimes hard to come by in production, DIC used me for other shows. I believe I did a few Madeline boards, then got approached for the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. TAOSTH had an incredible tight schedule, 65 half-hour episodes in 4 to 5 months. And that's an interesting little tidbit there. And let me do something real quickly, guys. Turn off my TV there so it doesn't get too... I don't think it'll be heard or anything. I've had it on longer before. But anyway, so that's incredible detail that the tight schedule for Sonic the Hedgehog: The Adventures was 65 half-hour episodes to be storyboarded in 4 to 5 months. Really interesting. Continuing on, next question he asked him was, were you aware of Sonic the Hedgehog before getting the job on storyboarding for the cartoon? Art's answer, not really. I had young kids at the time, so we got the video game and they played it. Next question, if I'm not mistaken, you initially started doing storyboards for the syndicated Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog TV series first. Is this correct? If so, what was it like working on that series? Art's answer, as I mentioned in an earlier answer, it was very hectic. Since I was a reliable board artist, they kept giving me boards, one as soon as the previous one was done. Next question. Did you have communication with the writers, Deke, Sega, etc. for either show you worked on? His answer, none with the writers of Sega, but obviously lots with Deke. You were asked to handle a board, usually a 12-minute segment, and sent the script, some models, characters, backgrounds, and props to that show, kind of like what I just showed you there earlier with that picture of Sally, that drawing of Sally. That's obviously from Art's handiwork. It said characters, backgrounds, and props specific to the show, and sometimes specific notes on what the director is looking for, or, in many cases, not all the design models are done, so you have to work around. So what I showed you earlier is basically thanks to him. It's kind of cool. Next question: What led to you working on the ABC Saturday Morning Sonic the Hedgehog, aka SatAM TV series? Art's answer: my work on Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and some other work for Deke led me to being offered to work on the SatAM series. Next question: how did working on the SatAM series differ from working on the syndicated Adventure series? Was it weird working on two vastly different shows based on the same character? Did you prefer working on one or the other? Art's answer: needless to say, it was strange. I hadn't been boarding for that long, and to work on two completely different shows based on the same video game was odd. The comedy of Adventures was easier to work in. The AM show wanted a darker, more serious, dramatic feel, which is a bit harder to board. Next question. Do you remember the time frame from when you started storyboarding for the SatAM show? Art's answer: no. You are asking about something almost 30 years ago, and I was also doing other projects at that time. Next question. Next question. Did you have any discussions with the showrunner and creator of SatAM, Lynn Jansen? Art's answer: if I did, I don't remember. Normally board artists would talk to the associate producer or board supervisor. Next question. I believe you did talk with the show's director, Dick Seabass. What was he like? How did he help shape the show and what it became? Art's answer: We had few brief discussions on what I could improve on with my boards, and he would indicate that he wanted it more dramatic and dark. Because of the quick turnaround of boards, there was very little time for input or comments from the director. But one of my trips to LA to Dick, I was able to talk to him. Next question. I was curious if you talked much with the director of the second season, Ron Myrick. So we're going to get to that next part. You could tell that Jacob was definitely trying to get a lot of information from those involved, and didn't get the best of answers that he was probably hoping for himself and for us, but he did the best he could, in my opinion. He said, again, a long time ago, so I don't remember much. I remember my discussions with Dick Seabass because I happened to be out at Dick when I was going over footage that had just come in of animation for an episode I had boarded. Otherwise, I'm not sure he had the time to talk much with the board artist. I had to look it up on IMDb, but Ron was also involved with Life with Louie, Pocket Dragon Adventures, and the Tangerine Bear TV special. All shows I boarded on. I do remember talking to someone, it could have been Ron, after Sonic had been cancelled, and he mentioned that the plan was to reveal Knuckles at the start of Season 3. The SatAM show had been very well received and expanded to from a half hour to an hour in the second season, I believe. Then it went up against Power Rangers and got cancelled. At least that's what I remember. So now you have two people that worked on the show that basically confirmed it was originally supposed to be Knuckles and not Naugus. Continuing on. Next question. What was the general process when it came to storyboarding an episode for SatAM? Ron's answer, you need to understand how the business was at that time. Very few animation production companies kept board artists on staff. We were all freelance, and in my case I was in Wisconsin, now LA. Boards would be assigned and models given at the same time, as well as the schedule. You could deliver the board and it would be viewed by either a board supervisor or the director. Some notes made on it for changes, and the changes would be given to the storyboard revision artist, not the original artist of that board. There just wasn't time, and the original board artist was on to the next episode. All that was changed over time. When I ordered on Rugrats, I would submit a rough board, it was gone over, changes made, and you were given it back to complete. A better working arrangement, but one that wasn't being done then. Next question. Were there any times when Sega, Dick, or someone involved with the show requested that you change an aspect of your storyboards? Art's answer? Again, Sega would not be involved with... Okay, excuse me there. Okay, this is his answer. Excuse me. Okay. Again, this is Art's answer to Jacob. He said, again, Sega would not be involved at all with storyboard artists or designers. And there were very little comments that got back to me regarding my storyboards. Deke was happy with my work again. Deke was happy with my work again. One of the more common comments I have gotten over the years is that I was/am dependable, reliable, and on time. I have done work for Dig on another show, not Sonic, when a board artist accepted the assignment, took the entire 3 weeks, delivered nothing, and I was hired to quickly do what the artist didn't do. Next question. Did you know why the character designs shifted so heavily starting with Season 2? His answer, no, just that the direction under Dick Seabass was to be more dramatic and dark. Next question. Was working on the show's second season any different from working on the first season? Art's answer, no, not really, but everything about that time kind of runs together. So what I'm getting from this is basically when he's asking if he knew about the character design shifting so heavily in Season 2, obviously also with the atmosphere, it was because of the changing of directors. So Dick Seabass wanted it more dramatic, more dark. Ron kept it that way, but lightened it up a little bit to where you had a bit of comedicness thrown in there, a little bit more humor, a little bit more lightheartedness. Okay, next question he asked. How and when did you end up working on the Archie Sonic the Hedgehog comics? Art's answer, I was in a convenience store and saw a copy of the comic. I called Archie and mentioned I had worked on the TV shows. They gave me a try. The next question by Jacob. How was working on the comics different from working on the TV series? Did you have much contact with the Archie comics or the writers working there? Art's answer, no contact with the writers. You would have to... Okay, this is Art's answer, and I quote, no contact with the writers. You would have contact with a coordinator, scripts were handed out, but they would have a simple stick figure-like layout so you could see what would go in each panel. Next question. Did the process for illustrating the comic change over time? You worked on the comic up to the 156th issue in 2005. Art's answer? It changed a great deal. The comic started out much like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, comedy/gag driven, and it went much more into the SatAM realm, and we were just given the scripts and allowed to lay out the visuals the way we wanted. I would say the best time for working on the comic was around the build-up to the 50th issue, which obviously you could definitely tell had a huge SatAM tone to it. Next question. How and when did you end up working on the Sonic the Hedgehog Golden books? Art's answer? Again, one thing leads to another. I was contacted by Golden Books because they knew I'd worked on the TV show and comic. Next question. What was it like working on the Sonic the Hedgehog Golden books, Sonic's Shoe Blues, The Secret Admirer, and Up Against the Wall? What was the behind-the-scenes process of illustrating for the Golden books? Art's answer? Not very good, because there had been 2 different TV shows and a comic that was somewhere between the two. I don't think there was a clear vision of what the books should be, and I don't blame the writers. I also had a hard time with the visual style. Next question. Why had they kept the pilot designs for Sally for the beginning of the Archie Sonic comics run in the first 2 Golden books, but changed the designs to her finalized SatAM look for the later issues of the Sonic comics and the final Golden book you worked on? And his Art's answer is this. That's a good question. All I can remember is, Art's answer to that is, that's a good question. All I can remember is that all of a sudden, Sally had a vest. That was it. I guess they pretty much told him, yep, here's Sally's design. Oh, yeah, now she has a vest. I guess you gotta work with what you have. Next question. What led to you leaving the Archie Sonic comics and what led to you leaving the Archie comics and stopping working on Sonic-related projects as a whole? Art's answer? Well, the TV shows got canceled. As far as the comic, after working on them for a while, I couldn't justify the time committed versus money. Comics, at least the Sonic comic, didn't pay as well as boarding did. Not by a long shot. As my boarding work got more and more busy, I couldn't devote time to the comic. Next question. What have you been up to since leaving the Archie Sonic the Hedgehog comics? Art's answer? I've boarded over 150 episodes of different TV shows, from Rugrats to Life with Louie, to Wild Thornberrys to Family Guy, but I have transitioned into children's books, which have a slower turnaround time than comics or storyboards, and have illustrated over 150 books, including many for Disney and Pixar, Go Diego Go, Star Wars, Marvel, and others. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time to be involved with Sonic, which has led to much of my other work. And the final question, what do you think of the massive Sonic SatAM fanbase which exists today? Art's answer, I'm very surprised by it. If the Power Rangers had not come along, that is apparently what got the AM show canceled, it would have continued for more seasons. I still like the character designs, storylines of that show. And that's part of the interview he did with Art, which is pretty cool. But so far what I'm getting from this, is that both he and Ron pretty much have confirmed the same thing, that what we all suspected to be the case at the end of Doomsday Project, that cliffhanger, is indeed true. Now here's another one. It's a little shorter. This is what Alison Scolaman, Sonique, that's Sonique, Sonique, Alison Scolaman, the creator of Fans United for SatAM, the fan site which greatly helped in reviving the SatAM fandom. She additionally created the first incarnation of the Team Season webcomic and was a good friend of Ben Hurst, and was one of the primary reasons we got the complete series on DVD in 2007 when we did. So, this is her interview. It's shorter, but it's also kind of a little longer. In answers, that is. First question that Jacob asked Allison is, who are you? What got you into Sonic SatAM and made you want to create Fans United for SatAM in the first place? Allison's answer, when I was a teenager, my brother once came into my bedroom with a Sega Genesis. He told me his friend had given it to him, but he didn't really want it and asked if I did. So I said sure, and we hooked it up to my TV. As I recall, for some reason, the system didn't actually function properly. We couldn't get it to show up on the TV, which was obviously a problem. At first, we just chalked it up to a loss, but I eventually was able to get it working. Up until that point, I was totally a Mario fangirl. But after playing Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 for a little while, I shifted to an even bigger Sonic fangirl. I had become completely obsessed with the games, and bought all the ones for the Genesis that I could. This was around the time that the internet had started booming, and because I wanted more Sonic, I figured that would be the best place to go for it. I think I had visited just about every single Sonic site there was at the time, but there wasn't quite one the way I wanted it. So I decided to make it myself. I think some people might remember Sonic Pandemonium or Perfect Chaos, which was the same website under different names. That was my Sonic website. I tried to make it look as slick as I could and have information about all iterations of Sonic that I could find information about. My goal was to make it a one-stop shop for everything Sonic. While I could never compete with the lies of the Sonic Foundation, TeamTerrell.net, or Sonic HQ, what did you mean? Well, I could never quite compete with the ties, or with the lies or tries. I don't know. Sonic Foundation, Team Terrell, TeamTerrell.net, or Sonic HQ. I think I did a pretty good job for myself. It was something that I truly enjoyed and was passionate about, and it was a good way to express my creativity. However, as the Dreamcast had just been released, this website focused heavily on the new version of Sonic and the Dreamcast games. Yeah, remember the Dreamcast? But as time went on and the Dreamcast laid to rest, I found myself again and again turning to the SatAM series. As much as I enjoyed the games, they were far and few between for a while, but going back to SatAM over and over, I still felt a lot of joy from the series. Having never read the comics much, and Sonic Underground being a big disappointment, I decided to turn my attention to the SatAM series only. Thus, SatAMSonic.com was created. His next question to Allison, His next question to Allison is this: how was FUS/the forums like back in the 90s/2000s? Her answer to Jacob was, well, there was no FUS forums in the 90s. That was all Perfect Chaos on E's board. E's board was a very easy way to make a forum, but certainly wasn't professional. Fortunately, by the time FUS came along, I had learned to use a forum hosted on a server. I don't remember whatever version of the forum was. I know I settled on an in version eventually. The forums were always kind of the same. Really laid back and chill, with the occasional big blowout of drama. And I'll be honest, I think it was usually caused by me. I've calmed down a lot over the years, but some of the older members might remember me shutting down the forums if the drama got too bad. We were always able to move past it. Though, which really showed the strong bonds we had created over the show. Next question: how was Ben Hurst? What was your friendship with him like? Allison's answer: Ben and I became friends after I interviewed him for the website. Although it was much less of an interview and much more of him just telling me about his life, he loved to talk and tell all sorts of stories. I really wish I had some of them written down because, sad to say, I can only remember bits and pieces of everything he used to tell me. We became very close over the years, and I consider him a best friend of sorts. He would even call himself Uncle Ben whenever he was giving me advice. He lived a very full life with a lot of adventure, and something I've always taken solace in is the fact that more than once he had told me that if I died tomorrow, he would die fulfilled. If it didn't make his death that much easier, either, but I do take comfort in knowing, or it didn't make, I should say, it didn't make his death that much easier, but I do take comfort in knowing that he was able to move on without any regrets. Let me reread that. He said, this is what she said about Ben. Ben and I became friends after I interviewed him for the website, although it was much less of an interview and much more of him just telling me about his life. He loved to talk and tell all sorts of stories. I really wish I had some of them written down because, sad to say, I can only remember bits and pieces of everything he used to tell me. We became very close over the years, and I considered him a best friend of sorts. He would even call himself Uncle Ben when he was giving me advice. He lived a full life with lots of adventure, and something that I've always taken solace in is the fact that more than once he told me that if he died tomorrow, he would die fulfilled. It didn't make his death that much easier, but I do take comfort in knowing that he was able to move on without any regrets. Next question. Next question. Jacob asked Allison, what was the production for the original Season 3 comic like? And was Ben involved in any way? Allison's answer, Ben wasn't involved actually. He was working on his own ideas at the time. Honestly, from what I remember, the production was kind of messy. There wasn't really group chats back then for us to talk to one another, so it was kind of, and we're going to move on to the next one here. It was kind of hard to keep track of everything when it was just one-on-one conversations. I also tried to take on too much for myself, and as I was in college at the time. Overall, I mostly just assigned panels to people to draw, and then put them together on a page instead of doing the smart thing and handing out pages. The art was always good, but the styles were all over the place. The art was always good, but the styles were all over the place, as well as we had several different artists who came and went, and the same with people coloring. I think I also had different people doing backgrounds. It was just too many people doing too many different things in a bad way. I was very naive on how to handle such a project, and it would show with how many delays we had. I seem to remember a lot of artists who would tell me last minute that they couldn't get their panels done, or couldn't get their panels in too, even though they knew earlier on that they wouldn't be able to. I'm kind of surprised we managed to get as much out as we did. I believe we had a solid story. I haven't read it in ages though, so I might think differently if I saw it now. It was just putting it all together that was rough. His next question here. What caused the original season 3 or seasons cancellation? And how was the Dear Journal plotline, along with the comic as a whole, supposed to conclude? Allison's answer to Jacob, I think it was just a lack of time on pretty much everyone's part. People were going off to college, getting jobs, and it just didn't allow us the time we needed to make a monthly comic. As for Dear Journal, maybe someone else could chime in if they remember, but from what I recall, we never really planned on an ending. I wanted to get the story out of Sonic's parents, and then once that was done, move on to something else, and come back to it when I had a more solid idea of where to go. I had a lot of thoughts on whether or not they should be dead, alive, roboticized, or this or that. In the end, I don't think I ever came to a conclusion, and when the comic ended, I guess I forgot about it. I'm sorry that's not a really satisfying answer, but someone else might remember something differently. This was around 18 years ago, and that's pretty hard to remember, which is true. Next question. How did FUS contribute to the eventual release of the SatAM series complete? Okay, let me rewind that. Alright. How did FUS, Fans United for SatAM, contribute to the eventual release of the SatAM Complete Series DVD? Allison's answer? You know, it was kind of funny, because at the time, I would get a lot of emails about SatAM DVDs, many of which say SatAM on DVD or something in the subject, and I'd open it thinking it was news about a DVD release, but it would just be someone asking, is SatAM on DVD? So I stopped opening emails like that. One email at the time said SatAM coming to DVD from a Brian Ward. I ignored it for about a week before opening it just to see, because you never know. And that was the very email that told me SatAM, the complete series, was actually coming. Okay, let me read this. Okay, let me read this. Let me start with the question again. The question is, how did FUS contribute to the eventual release of the SatAM Complete Series DVD? This is Allison's answer. You know, it was kind of funny because at the time I would get a lot of emails about SatAM DVDs, many of which would say SatAM on DVD or something in that subject. And I'd open it thinking it was news about a DVD release, but it would just be someone asking, is SatAM on DVD? So I stopped opening emails like that. One email at the time said SatAM coming to DVD from a Brian Ward. I ignored it for about a week before opening it just to see, because you never know. And that was the very email that told me SatAM, the complete series, actually was coming to DVD thanks to Shout Factory. I cursed myself for not opening the email sooner and emailed him back some information. At the time, he was looking to get in contact with people like Ben Hurst and Jaleel White. I couldn't help him with Jaleel White, but obviously I knew Ben. At first, Ben was hesitant to do an interview for them. I'm not sure why, but interestingly enough, it was Pat Ali who convinced him. There were also a lot of members of FUS who contributed artwork for the inside of the DVD cover. Other than that, Brian kept me up to date on some of the ideas he had that I'd shared with the members, and that was pretty much it. It was a super fun experience to be part of, and it was probably the highest moment of FUS overall. Next and last question of the sneak peek of these interviews. He asked, what was your reasoning for stepping down from being the owner of FUS? Allison's answer, mostly I just lost interest in Sonic and didn't have the time, so I began looking for someone to take over. It wasn't anything more than that. FUS overall was a fantastic experience. I've learned a lot about websites and was able to express my creativity, and I made some lifelong friends that I wouldn't trade for anything. I can't even explain how happy I am that the site is still going strong and so many classic members are still around. I love the new Season 3 comic and I'm really looking forward to their animation. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me. It was quite a trip down memory lane. And those are the interviews that Jacob, SatAM Historian, put out for this. And let me take a breather for a second, guys, because that's long, and this is going to be a long-ass video. At the end of the day, it's going to be a long-ass video, so I do apologize for that. But this is probably going to get converted into 480, so I do apologize for that too. Maybe even 360, but 480 mostly. But I'm going to say this. just out of those sneak peeks. And I don't think that's the complete. I mean, some of them are the complete interviews, some of them are not. You could tell there's probably more interviews he has planned. But I'm telling you right now, just based on that, you know, it's quite interesting to find out about some things. I mean, Ben Hurst, Ben Hurst has said for years that the original plan for the revelation of the person behind the red eyes at the end of Doomsday was going to be Naugus. But when you have two people that worked closely on the artistic part of it, and one of them being Ron Myrick, who was the director for season 2, being in contact with one of the Sega executives, coming out along with Art along with Art Mahini, both of them saying that the eyes were supposed to represent Knuckles and not Naugus, and basically saying there was a difference between the two. That's quite the information to find out. That really is. I mean, I'm all for the fact that, hey, we probably, what I'm trying to say is I'm all for the fact that we were probably, correct in our assumptions, had the show continued on, officially. And like I said, I'll tell you this right now, I'm pretty confident, just an opinion, that Team Season, they're reading parts of this and they're like, really? So we were right too? Because you can't tell me that they, along with the founder of Fans United for SatAM, Allison, are not reading these interviews and they're like, so we were right the whole time? It was supposed to be Knuckles? So interesting concept there. Interesting concept, to say the least. But overall, a lot of information, a lot of behind-the-scenes things we didn't know about, and if this is just a taste of what we're going to get with the book when it comes out, for one, I'm happy to have contributed what I could to the book when I did, but I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this book to be released. And if anybody's wondering if this is, if this is something that's legitimately going to happen, like I said, you saw the cover and everything. It is going to happen. It is going to happen, and I cannot wait for it. I cannot wait to see this book when it gets released. But yeah, besides that though, guys, what a run it's been so far for Sonic SatAM to be out as long as it has, to have the fan base it has, the fact that you can watch it, through various different means, whether it's through different streaming services like TuneIn, Pluto, Netflix, well not Netflix, but YouTube, through the Wild Brain channels, Paramount Plus. You have all these options, including the complete series DVD and a potential Blu-ray release, down the line. You couldn't ask for a better series to really go back to and watch on occasions, no matter what. I mean, and especially if you have the DVDs and you're playing them, the episodes on your 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray player on your 4K television, and you look at the display, of the resolution, and it shows you, the 4K resolution that you're watching it in, and you put it into HDR as well, it feels just as fresh, if not, fresher than it's ever been. So can't say any more than that. So in closing, guys, happy anniversary, 29th anniversary to Sonic SatAM. Cannot wait for the 30th anniversary next year, which again, I'm pretty certain that is the target goal for Team Season when it comes to their animation. So be on the lookout for that. But again, guys, happy 29th anniversary Sonic SatAM. Also, happy 30th anniversary to the Archie book, because it's celebrating it around the time frame of this year. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are on Sonic SatAM's 29th anniversary. I do apologize for the long length of this video. It's going to be a long one, guys. I do apologize for it. But hopefully you take your time in listening. And if you're listening to the podcast, the audio podcast, hope you guys enjoy it there as well and take your time with it. But until next time, guys, you know where to find me. Find me at patreon.com. So that's BWRosas with a $1, $3 tier. At Venmo, at Brian-Warmer-2, and at Cash App, at BWRosas98 to help me out supportively right away. Also, check me out at my Teespring store. Also, check me out at VENMO at BW Rosas there for content you can't get anywhere else, as well as where you can listen to the audio version of this at BW Rosas Discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations, and also check me out at deviantart.com. So it's BVW 1979, I believe, or something like that. I can't think of it right now. At deviantart.com at BVW179, I should say, I think. Let me make sure it's correct on that. I just read a lot, so my brain's kind of scatterbrained right now. So, yeah, BVW1979 at DeviantArt, you can find me. As well as you can check out my, like I said, my Teespring store to help support me there. And really, guys, that's all I'm going to say for now. But let me know what your thoughts are. And until then, super chats, super stickers, of course, in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video, super thanks afterwards. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys, overall on your history with Sonic SatAM as a fan. How'd you first discover it? What are your thoughts about some of the inside information we found out that differs from what Ben has told us, from what we found out from Ron and from Art? Let me know your thoughts down below. And until next time, I am out.